Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. I'm Dave Jenkins, and until I get on stage again, these are the Dave Diaries. Alright, we're doing episode 20 today. Altar serving. I was an altar server in Catholic school. Went to Catholic school my whole life, middle school, I was an altar server. Before I get into it, I just want to explain the three types of Mass that we would serve. The first was just regular Sunday Mass. That sucked, I won't talk about it. The second type was like a private sort of Mass, if it was someone's funeral or wedding or anything like that. And then the third type was Mass that we would have during a regular school day. Sometimes we had to do that once a week. But above it all, being an altar server was great because when you're the person that does Mass, you get to see how the sausage gets made. It's interesting. Okay, not the sausage of the priest. Actually, being an altar server was the most surefire way to not get diddled. I know that sounds backwards, but think about it. Because restaurants have a phrase, right? It's don't fuck with people who serve your food. In the seminary, priests learn a phrase that goes, don't diddle the kids who can poison your wine. So the priests kept their distance. And during weekday Mass, they kept so much distance that once Mass was over, we had zero supervision. Okay? Because Mass is over, the priest goes back to the rectory, our teacher takes the class back into the school. Me and my altar server buddy now have 20 minutes to lock up. So after the minute it takes to do that, we basically spent the remaining 19 minutes binging deli sandwiches and cigarettes. And you just come back coughing up a lung like, your teacher's like, hey, you okay? And you're like, yeah, the incense was really strong today. I think it's menthol or something. So that was always fun. And then the other types of Mass were the private ones, like funerals or weddings, which are great. If you ever did a private Mass, you got tipped because you didn't really have to be there. And those were always great because, you know, if it's a wedding, the fucking father-in-law just stumbles on over to you with like a whiskey and he throws you a tenner. You get cigarette ash in your hair or whatever. And that's great. Funerals were obviously a bummer, not because of the dead people, but because there's no graceful way for a 12-year-old to ask a grieving widow for tip money. But that's what you had to do. You'd be like, hey, listen, Barbara, I'm sorry your husband died, but total bummer. But listen, I have laser tag in 1 hour, and I don't have any money. And I was kind of riding on this to make that go some way. And then she runs away crying because she can't figure out anything. So then you have to go in her purse and steal it. I don't know. I learned a lot. I learned a lot being an altar server.